Guys, welcome back for part two. I wanted to start by saying thank you for all the likes, shares, and interest shown in the video I put up last night. This is the part two I discussed where we're going to season it. But before we get into that, I'd like you to remember a little bit of food safety when you go about turkeys. If you're using frozen, please allow 1 day per 5 pounds if you're going to do it in the refrigerator, which is highly preferable. If you're going to use cold water, like most people's grandmas probably did, you're going to need about 2.5 hours per 5 pounds. And please don't ever use warm water, because salmonella is a real thing, and nothing better to give it to you than chicken or turkey. With that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into this. You'll notice I have the turkey out. When you take it out of the brining bag, you want to go ahead and rinse it off to get excess salt off. We will be reapplying rub, so you don't have to worry about the flavor. I've got a pan here, and on top of the pan I have a cookie sheet that you can buy at any grocery store. I like to use those when I'm barbecuing. It allows for air underneath, but it's also going to allow me to catch my drippings without it going back and forth off of the raw bird. And that's really good to use for gravy. If you're going to use it for gravy, I recommend putting a broth in the bottom. If not, like I am, I put a hard cider in the bottom. You can put your favorite beer. You can also put some juice. When that liquid evaporates, it will attach to the smoke, and it will add hints of that flavor, which can give you a more rounded flavor profile. So the first thing we're going to look at with this guy is injection. I told you we'd talk about that. I've got it sitting up to where the cavity is facing down. That way anything that runs out is going to run into my mix. I'm going to come in right here where you've got that bone you can feel. Come in right beside it and turn back in. Give a slight squeeze. Wait for 3 to 5 seconds. Pull it out slowly, and all of your marinade won't run back out of the bird. I'll come back a little bit, same process, slight squeeze, give it some time. And now we'll do the other side. All right. And as a quick side note, if you want to make your injection like I did, get a stick of butter, get a cup of chicken broth or mushroom broth, whichever you prefer. Add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then you're going to add 2 teaspoons of Tony's Cajun. That's going to give you a nice Cajun injection. It's going to give a really good flavor, and it's going to go really well with the rub that we're going to use. So the first rub we'll get into is just going to be the normal poultry season that probably everybody has in their cabinet and nobody has ever used. It's got coriander, sage, thyme, allspice, and pepper in it. And it creates a really good savory base. And it's also good because it's not loaded down with garlic. Our top is going to have a lot of garlic in it, so we don't want to overdo it on that front. So take our poultry seasoning. Just want to get a light coat. Go ahead and pat it on there. That skin's going to be a little wet. That's all right. Got a good coat of that. The next one we're going to use, I chose to go with this instead of my own. I make one similar, but the recipe I have is to make about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, and most people are not going to ever use up that amount of rub. This is just a Caribbean lemon pepper. It's got a little bit of a kick, but I wouldn't call it spicy, but it's a good flavor. It's going to go really well with that undercoat we've got, plus that Cajun rub that we have. The idea is to blend everything together. So we've got a little bit of spice, we've got a little bit of sour, and we've got that savory flavor with the poultry rub underneath. And if you'll remember, our marinade that we soaked it in overnight, the brine is going to give it a sweet and salty mix. So we're blending all those flavors together, but we just want hints of them. We don't want anything to be too pronounced, except for maybe garlic. I don't personally think you can never have too much garlic, but I'm trying not to choke anybody out here. Get a good coat on that. Now another thing that I didn't mention earlier about the way I've got my pan set up, it does allow the heat to go underneath, which does allow for a more consistent cook throughout the bird. I've been doing this for the last 3 years. I've also used the stands. The stands are really good, but if you don't have a stand, this is a really cheap way to get around that and still have the same outcome. So the next thing we're going to do is move it outside to the grill. It is dark outside here, so I'm not going to be able to video that. I don't have my lighting set up out there yet. But I have my grill set at 260, and it's a little warmer than some people do, but it works really well for me in getting a good crust on the bird. And we'll be checking on that every 45 minutes and spraying it down with cold water. When I'm doing pork, sometimes I'll use vinegar. I've seen people use all sorts of different mixes. White vinegar or distilled water are my two favorite, and I always do it cool. It seems to help the crust get a little bit thicker and really set up in a way that allows for that bark to stick once you start cutting it apart. So I'll go ahead and take a break from this and move outside and get this put on the grill. We'll check back up later when this thing